Now, our Panel Glide track system is a Japanese premium designed track system, and it features an electro-coated aluminium track in a couple of different finishes. Firstly, you've got that natural aluminium track, and then you've got a birch white, again, electro-coated aluminium track in birch white. Now, we attach the track with our fabric by a spline method. Now, what this ensures is we get a much cleaner, straighter look and much reduced puckering compared to many other cheaper Velcro type Panel Glide systems on the market. Our Elite track's available reveal fit, right up to 8 channels. So you can have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 channels if you're reveal fitting. If you're face fitting with various brackets we'll talk through and we'll show you, you can have 2, 3, 4, 5, but a maximum of 6 channel systems. The control options for Panel Glides are pretty straightforward. Obviously, we've got a wand traverse system and we've got a corded system. Obviously, with child safety in mind, the wand system is by far the more popular and certainly what we would suggest and recommend every time. Now, the options that are available, the standard option with the traversing wand is to have the wand at the back panel. The back panel is obviously the one that moves if that's where the wand is, and the front panel is fixed. Now, you can reverse that and you can ask for an optional change to that where you want the back panel fixed and the front panel moving. Now, when we install this Panel Glide behind me shortly, I'll show you what I mean by back panel moving and where the wand is positioned, as opposed to front panel moving and where we position and what we do with the wand in that scenario. Stack options, as you would expect, you can do a left stack one way, a right stack one way, or you can do a split stack and have obviously panels go back to the left and the right. Our panel overlap is 80 millimeters. The standard finish on our Panel Glide fabric panels is to have a welded bottom pocket. So the same thing that you would see as standard on a Classique or a Beach Roman, or you would see if you ordered a Colonial bottom trim on a roller blind, that welded bottom pocket, and again we'll have a look at one when we put this shade up shortly, that welded bottom pocket is the standard. But there's a couple of optional bottom rails that you can ask for if you require. For an extra surcharge, you can have the ellipse base rail. The ellipse base rail, the same as you see, pretty well as standard on our Edge roller blind systems. You can ask for that base rail. You can also call up an Elite base rail. Now, the Elite base rail is a squared off base rail which matches the moving rail that we have attached to the top track on the Panel Glide. One of the features with having that Elite base rail is that we have a spline top and bottom. Same as we do with the Ellipse, it's splined top and bottom. So again, it's a clean look, there's no puckering. Just make sure when you're installing that and fitting the panel to the top that you put the correct spline according to the actual channel it needs to go into. The other great thing about the Elite bottom rail is that it has connectors. I might actually just hold that up now actually. This little plastic connector here is a connector which slides in to the bottom of the Elite base rail and actually connects it to its neighbouring Elite base rail. So it gives a bit more stability and holds that. And actually, if not holds it, it's similar to what a chain does on a vertical blind, I would imagine. It just helps keep the panels near each other when you're operating or sliding the panels, or if there's a slight breeze coming through that opening. Panel Glide measuring is probably pretty simple, guys. In a reveal scenario, 5 off the width, 5 off the drop. For face fit, we're going to say 10 millimeters off the drop to give us clearance to the floor. And we'd recommend adding 100 millimeter to the opening so we get good coverage. But obviously, if you want it to go edge of architrave to edge of architrave, then give us that measurement. You can also, in the book, have a look at what your panel width will be. There are some calculations in the price list. And if you want to have those panels of fabric stack completely off the glass and you've got room to extend your track, you can actually take all your panels off to the side. What that can mean, though, is that when you've got your panels drawn across your glassed area, that you'll have an exposed piece of track, nothing is there because the panels are over the glass. Corners and bays, it's a tricky product in corners and bays. The track is fairly wide. There are measuring deductions there as per the pricing app or the manual as to what you need to do. But again, keep in mind gaps in corners and bays will probably pose some concerns with panel glide. Minimum drop's a metre. Minimum width is a metre. We can do fairly wide openings with panel glide. Maximum width, 5 metres. Maximum drop, 4 metres. Very much a product that showcases fabric. Panels of fabric hanging down, you really only see fabric as opposed to any other part of the componentry. So what the plan now, guys, is to actually install a 2-panel anodized track in obviously a wand operated, because again, the wand operated is by far the most popular option and what we believe you should be selling when you sell panel glide. Now, just going to point out here, obviously behind me we've got our installation house here. We've pre-installed our face fit bracket for our 2-track system here. So I'll just come back in. Just going to get Trev to zoom in and we're going to look at the bracket. So this is the standard face fit bracket for a 2-channel track which will fit in here. What you've got here, you've got a lip here which the track will lock into, and then you have a combination of 2 wedges here with a single screw. Now that needs to be loosened off to enable you to click the track up into. But be quite careful not to loosen that too much, because what will happen is the screw will dislodge from that bracket and those 2 wedges will actually drop out completely. Pretty simple and straightforward to put it back together, but you don't need to actually undo that all the way. It's just a matter of getting that loose enough so you can click the track up into position. So what we'll do now is we'll install our track, and as I said, that's your face mount bracket for 2-track. Obviously varying brackets if it's a bigger bracket. Have a bigger bracket here for a 4. If you're in a reveal scenario, as standard we don't supply ceiling mount brackets. You can specifically request them on your order and they'll be sent to you, but in a reveal scenario it's more than suitable to be drilling holes and going through the physical bracket itself to hold it in position. Face mount brackets are supplied obviously with any order that's designated as face fit. Spacing for brackets, the space between the end of the track and the nearest bracket or the fixing should not exceed 100 millimeters. And then the spacing between brackets or fixings again should not exceed 1 meter. So 100 million from the end, and at least every meter you need to have a fixing point or a bracket. Now, before we install this, let's just talk through the trackings that we have. 2, 3 and 4 track systems is 1 head rail. But then you can do a 5, 6, 7 and 8, which is essentially by butting up 2 different tracks to each other. So a 6 could be a 2 and a 4 or a 3 and a 3. Now there's bracketry to hold those together on face so they sit parallel with each other. Obviously in a reveal scenario, you're just positioning the track and screwing it up through the track. So 5, 6, 7 and 8, those track systems feature 2 head rails. As I said, when they're used, you need to ensure that you install them parallel and you make sure that the side of the rail containing the stop is placed at the front. And when we install this one here, you'll see that our front rail has a stop. In fact, I might quickly grab that and tell you what I mean by a stop. Trev, can we zoom into that there? Hold it up. You'll see a stop there. So this rail will move. This is our front rail, which is fixed, and there is a stop there, obviously because you want one panel in the whole configuration to be fixed to hold the position. As I said, make sure that the side of the rail containing the stop is placed at the front. So the bracket for the 3 and the 4 panel track is also something you need to be conscious of as well. This is the bracket for a 3 and 4 panel track. It's set at the actual 4-channel track system. So here you can see we've got another hole here. We could move that whole wedge assembly forward if we were fitting a 3-track system. So it comes to you set for 4 and you move that wedge forward if you've only got a 3-track system. We're going to now put this track up and then we'll talk through actually fitting the panels. It's a pretty straightforward product to actually install. Getting it ordered correctly and configured the way you want it is also quite paramount. I mentioned as well, if I wanted to have my fixed panel at the back instead of the front, and you can see there that flat edge on the front of this rail, on the front of the head rail or the track. If you want to reverse that and go for the option where your moving rail is at the front, we actually will get you to turn the track around. Now you'll see here, and you can probably get a bit of an idea there, still a nice flat silver finish on the front, but it'll have a slight lip, top and bottom. So to give you that option where you have moving rail at the front, you are reversing the track. All right, guys, we're going to pop this into the system now. I've got my fixed rail at the front. So I'm actually going to come along here. I'm actually going to loop it into the actual, so I'm bringing it up, locating it into the front hook on that actual bracket, pushing it up. I'd already loosened off the wedges that are in that bracket. And I just come along with a Phillips head screwdriver, nip that up, nice and tight. Now it's a combination of wedges, so what it does, the 2 wedges push together and they push the lock forward, which pushes the track into the front of the bracket, keeping it nice and secure. I would recommend that these screws are just tightened with a hand screwdriver. I think if you use a battery drill or a power screwdriver, you could just go too far and potentially damage those wedges. So we've now got the track in place. The wand can either go on now, or you can put the wand on after you've put the panels in. I'm going to choose to put the wand on now. So this is the standard wand, okay? Even though I've got the aluminium finished looking track here, don't have a silver wand. The wand is only available in the birch white colour. So it's something that people might need to be made aware of, that if they're buying a birch white track, obviously the wand suits. If they're buying the silver track, they're still getting the birch white wand. Now I'm going to choose to connect that wand onto there now. It's nice and simple. You'll see the wand actually hangs on a hook at the back of that back moving rail, and it sits behind it. So it does create that nice clean look. I'm then going to grab my panels. Your panels will come to you rolled around a cardboard cylinder. This is one, unfortunately, has been packed up and left for about 18 months, so it hasn't had time to hang and drop and for the creases to come out. Oh, you'll see a round spline in the top, and you'll see at the bottom we've got our standard, call it a colonial trim, or our bottom pocket with an aluminium bar in it. So this aluminium bar is the same bar, solid, heavy aluminium bar that goes in a colonial bottom pocket, as I said, bottom of a Classique or Beach Roman. And as standard, it's what we put in the bottom pocket of a panel glide. Really simple. Come along to that track, slide the spline in, backtrack first, come along, put the one in the front, and there you have it. Now, once those panels are in place, you're happy with where you've got them and everything else is done, there's a little end cap. Now, we've actually taken the end caps off. When the track comes to you, obviously the track is fully assembled, fully configured, and all the little end caps and all the bits and pieces are fitted. So hopefully we can get a picture of that, Trev. That end cap is a moving rail end cap, okay? So we've had to remove that to be able to put our panels in. Just a matter of coming along, putting that back in position. Just slides on. It dresses it off, and there's a single screw that just goes into the bottom fixing hole. You'll see the cap is a universal cap, so it will look like there's a provision for a top and a bottom screw, but there is actually only a provision in the actual moving rail to take one screw. So we've now got end cap in there. So now the panel can't come out. Operating the panel glide by the wand sits behind. The wand will fall and always be out of sight from behind. That's the configuration, which is our standard configuration, where you've got fixed panel at the front, moving rail at the rear. I'm just going to ask Trevor to actually bring up a photo, if you could, Trevor, just to show you the difference. If you say to us you want the fixed panel at the back and the moving rail at the front, the things that are different is you'll get a different wand, and you'll actually have the wand living at the leading edge. So if you look at what's on screen now, optional wand location for front panel. So you can see the white hook is at the edge of the moving rail or the carrier rail, and that wand is connected there like that. So they're the two differences in the wand depending on how you order and how you configure your panel glide. Are there any questions or anything about that, guys? I know panel glides, it's a simple product, but it's not a simple product. People really get caught up with what can I do with panel glide. I want the panel or the fixed panel to be in a certain position because I want my moving panel to clear a door handle on my sliding door. So you can do both options, but just be aware you'll get a slightly different wand configuration. Now, obviously, we do this product as a cord operated, and the operation of the cords is always going to be at the stack side of the panels. Okay? Now, the different bottom rail options. As I said, we've just installed a panel glide there which has got the Colonial bottom pocket, or I refer to it as the Colonial bottom pocket. It's the standard pocket for panel glide. If you're getting an Ellipse or an Elite base rail, you will have to also attach the base rail to the bottom of the fabric. So as I said, splined top and bottom, so it's a nice clean look. And obviously you're going to put all the panels together, all the carrier rails on the panels before you attach any of the end caps, just to make sure you've got it actually where you want it to be. Obviously the cord operation, it's absolutely imperative that you mount the cord and have it fitted in a child safety situation. We'll provide you the same cord tensioner that we supply for a vertical blind, and that must be installed if a consumer's actually gone for that cord operated panel glide. So this is a really quick session. There's nothing more that I was planning to talk about panel glide for, guys. It is a beautiful system. It's a very smooth track. It's a very smooth system. So, but you can see it's all about showcasing fabric top to bottom and a nice, sleek, slimlined track. Any questions, any comments, anything else you'd like me to cover once again for you? All right, guys, that's the end of this session. See you in the next session. Bye.